Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello and welcome to the Simracersworld IMSA Winter Series live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. I am joined alongside by DJ Clark. Sam Kumo is operating the cameras for this opening round of this 6 meeting championship. DJ, we had the touring cars last time out at Alton Park. We have got the IMSA cars, the P2s and the GT3s tonight instead. Quite a change of pace, but it should be a lot of fun in this 100 minutes race.
It should indeed, and having them at Road Atlanta, well, it's very similar to having those touring cars out at Alton Park. These prototypes and GT3 machines, they will feel right at home around this twisting Georgia track. It is one of the hallmarks of the American racing schedule, and I, for one, Sam, am very excited to see these guys out on track.
Yeah, it should be really good. Just a quick rundown of the format for tonight. So we've got a half an hour qualifying. The first quarter of an hour, or the first half of this half an hour qualifying, is for the GT cars. So you can see the GTD Pro and the GTD AM, the GT3 cars. They have already done their qualifying. That is absolutely set, and you can see how close it was, particularly in the pros in that category. We have currently got the P2s out there. This is our top class, our prototype class, just as the real-life IMSA series is now, of course, without the GTE cars. And currently Craft is at the top, and they've got a few more minutes. They can use all of the time remaining in this 30-minute session, and I believe they will be able to complete their lap time after the timer has ticked down. It won't be like last week when we had the heat racing format. And you can see the 21st of December. So nice and cool. I mean, this is a very warm parts of the of the world. A lot of the time, DJ, I'm not sure if you've been able to make your way down to the south of the US too many times, but 81 degrees Fahrenheit will be quite a welcome relief for the drivers compared to what it could be if the in-sim date was in the summer.
Indeed, and having spent a chunk of my life down in Nashville, I can tell you that this is just about perfect weather for this time of year. And yeah, that cool temperature means that specifically on the opening stint and the opening couple of laps here for these drivers, they're going to have to be a little bit careful not to try to drive it too hard. Tires will be a little bit chilly, and specifically with the first turn here, that sweeping right-hander up the hill, a little bit of brush braking in the prototypes, a little bit heavier down in those GTDs. They're going to have to be careful not to overcook it, as well as going down through the S's. It's going to have to be very, very careful for all drivers, otherwise we could find ourselves in a real kerfluffle on the opening laps.
Yeah, the opening lap can often be a problem around this circuit. It is quite narrow, and you do have the problems that you were mentioning before. So we can only hope that we get through it all in one piece as we go through this thrilling section of the track. One of the best pieces of circuit in the world, undoubtedly, is the S's, and particularly in these P2 cars, because you're borderline flat around a couple of areas where it feels totally out of place to be going flat out. Of course, no overtaking possible, but it is so satisfying to drive. And then a really tricky part of the track here, so slow, going onto the back straight. Just got to keep it neat and tidy, use a bit of the exit curve as well. And this is on board with Miguel Freitas, driving for Team Mad, a very well-established team on Apex Racing TV. We have covered them a lot over the years, and it's awesome that they are once again represented in this championship. And Freitas coming to the end of his lap. O'Leary moves up into 5th position. Freitas currently 7/10 off as he just cuts that curve right. So easy to pick up a slow down there, and then easy flat out in these cars. Will probably try to shorten the run to the line as much as possible. Can Freitas improve? He can, but it's not enough to move up any places. And we wait to see if he's got enough fuel to set any more laps.
He'll have to go out and do that. And you mentioned coming down through that turn 11 complex, and yeah, you want to try to shorten that corner as much as possible, but because of the way the track breaks away from you, there's really only 1 or 2 lines that you can take, even with the high downforce LMP2s. You have to be very, very careful not to spin the tires coming down through that section. You've got to be very, very careful not to get offline, as it can really, really throw you off and send you into a whole world of trouble.
Really good lap at the moment for Thomas O'Leary. I've just suddenly seen purple flash up on my timing screen. Very quick 3rd sector, 4 sectors on this lap. I'm just wondering if this might be enough to push him up. It is. It's not pole position, but it is 3rd place. He's unlucky actually not to be on the front row of the grid there, O'Leary. But yeah, fastest 3rd sector of anyone. Force Dyke on his last lap set the fastest final sector of anyone. This lap he is currently on, trying to improve once again. Such a fantastic turnout in this championship. 45 cars, 40. We're looking at 47 or 48. 47 took part in qualifying. Hopefully, Thijs van den Berg will also be taking to the grid as well tonight. But here is James Forsyth. What are his sector times like? Pretty good sector 1, not a particularly good sector 2. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough for Forsyth. He might even just be winding this up for going for another lap, maybe sacrificing this one. Certainly very neat and tidy through the chicane. And you can see Claessens and Rutten already back in the pits as Forsyth improved. Wasn't too bad a lap, but it was quite far off his best. So he's got one last attempt here. This will be, yeah, probably his last eligible lap time.
Yeah, probably indeed. And there you see them as they get over that tricky turn 2 and 3 complex. One of the most terrifying corners, I would argue, in the entire world, Sam. It's a completely blind braking zone coming up over turn 2 and then getting into turn 3. Very, very tricky to get that absolutely right. And then particularly in these LMPs, it is going to be absolutely flat out down through the S's, and then a lot of patience required. And no matter what car you're in there to get over turn 5, you want to take a lot of that exit curbing if you can. And it's if you get it right, it's a truly fantastic feeling. If you get it wrong, you are hanging on for dear life through that section.
Yeah, I remember Marco Balbonera saying, I think around that corner, where someone will crash there, undoubtedly. So every time you visit Red Atlanta, someone's going to bin it at that corner. And, well, I think it's only a matter of time until someone does. I'm sure a few drivers have done already in qualifying. Daniel Kraft just ran in the final corner. Excellent Sector 2, purple Sector 2 for him on this lap. This might be another improvement for him to extend his lead. No, it was just short. That would still be good enough for pole position. So, I mean, that's very impressive there from Kraft, but you will be a bit disappointed for Pure Sims Esports. Now the checker flag is out, we should be able to complete the lap times that the driver starts, unlike the TC series and many of our other series on Apex Racing TV, so there is still room for improvement. Freitas with a personal best Sector 2, but his other sector times are looking fairly ordinary. This might put him ahead of Bentham. Oh, wow, again, he's super close. Freitas improves once again, but again, it's not enough to move up the order, unfortunately, from his perspective. Kraft is improving once again. He's looking very quick in this lap, but Force Dyke not doing a whole lot on his, it seems, at the moment. Probably not enough to challenge for the overall pole position, as Kraft just with a couple more corners to go, trying to extend that lead.
Exactly. Seeing a lot of drivers not having a lot of speed through that third sector. Kraft, though, purple, as you said, through that second sector. That third sector is mainly the long straightaway. Ooh, good time there for Kraft, setting going purple in sector 2 and 3. So that tells me that not a lot of drivers are truly trimmed out around here. They're not maximizing their speed down the back straightaway, opting for a little bit higher of a downforce setup. Try to get the best time they can through that first twisting area down through the S's.
Yeah, do you think maybe the fact that this is such a long race, you know, 1 hour 40 for these drivers, do you think that will make an impact on how much wing they run? Do you think they'd run more wing compared to maybe if this was a normal 40-minute race in the officials?
I certainly think so. I mean, a little bit more downforce. You're not going to scrub the tires nearly as much. You're not going to have to worry about tire wear. And number 2, you don't want to be running a car that is absolutely on edge for an hour and 40 minutes. You want something that feels a little bit more controlled, a little bit more relaxed, and a little bit more together.
Yeah, I think that's a very good piece of advice. I mean, this is pretty much as long as what some of the stints in the Petit Le Mans a special event series will be. So this is a properly tricky challenge for the drivers, and we have got the grid lining up at the moment. The formation lap will soon get underway. It is a full formation lap around this track, and it is Daniel Kraft on top. He did improve on that last lap, 3/10 clear of James Forsyth. Then it was Thomas O'Leary, Sam Bentham, Miguel Freitas, Alistair Catchpole, Peter Jan Claessens, Tim Rutten, Kevin Zwemstra. Oh, good to see him out there, Zwemstra, driver in the F3 series, if I recall correctly, on a Saturday night. Then it's John Barnes, not the footballer, John Barnes. He is a different person in 10th place. Then it was Thomas Mokek, Paul Gosling in 12th place, Nick Shermans, Michelle Sembera, John Tusting, Darian Roy, Derek Robb, Jason Ashfield is the last runner in the P2 field. Then top of the GTD Pros is Chris Warner. Then it's Øystein Hereford, Hakon Grebstad, Sebastian Herburer, Bod Boland, great to see him back after a little absence from Apex Racing TV. Wim Stockmans is in 24th. Then top of the amateurs is Wojtek Kokek. And you can see how well he did. He's right in amongst the pro drivers, got quite a big gap to the next AM driver. Then it's Christoph Reyes, Chris Wood, Neil Cooper, Justus Stakiokas, Andrew Hopley, Johan Kaiser, Haldas Utortus, and then Anton Dupan in second place out of the GTD AMS. Then it's Ben Hicks, Jason Hodgson, Yako Boshov in 36th overall, Juraj Avalo, Anthony Beck, Edward Knight, Matthew Southey, Samuel Lamont, Bradley Hulse, Kevin Stringer, Nathan Healy, Ben Holland, Craig Jones, Stuart Musselwhite, Thies Vanden Berg is in 48th position. Hopefully Vandenberg will take the grid. Has he got away? He has got away. Excellent. So we've got a 48 car field. Great work to the Simracersworld admins. They do an awesome job with all their different leagues, and great to see such a massive field out here. And apologies to the bad pronunciation. We will get better through the season. Unfortunately, we've only got to do that one more time this evening because we've only got one race compared to the 3 races that we had last week. I mean, DJ, of course, you're quite new to commentating at Apex Racing TV, but the thing that struck me going through that order is how many names I recognise, whether maybe I could have broadcasted on them a couple of days ago or maybe a couple of years ago, but we've really got a mixture of abilities, mixture of experiences, and yeah, it will be great to see these guys battle it out.
Well, it sure will, and I think it goes to show just the popularity of these IMSA-style series, the multi-class racing, whether it is in the LMP2s or the ever-popular GT3s. It's always a great combination to have out on track, and I think it's a little bit of a forebearer for just the excitement that everyone's looking forward to for IMSA and WEC in the upcoming year with this same formula coming in for both. Yeah,
it's of course the official series changing to just the P2 and the GT3s, and certainly I think that's quite a popular move on the iRacing service, albeit it's still a home for the GTEs and the European Sprint Series, of course, as the pace car just in the cars where you'll see a big divide between the P2s and the GTD cars. All the GTD cars will go at the same time, won't be divided by Pro and Am, because of course they are all mixed in with one another, so that would not be possible. But Kraft has got complete control of the P2 field at the moment. He will choose when to launch off this Winter Series Championship and launch off this round one of the championship 100 minutes in length. Kraft puts his foot down just as the green flag comes out, and it is a superb launch straight away from O'Leary, trying to attack heading into turn 1 as they're mainly too wide heading into the first corner of the lap, as O'Leary is able to get up the inside of Forsyth, so an excellent start for him. Also Freitas trying to get past Bentham, but I think he's just going to have to slot him behind as they go through the S's for the first time. In the GT class, they are still waiting. Big Cap being left, so good control there from Warner. It's not a very good launch for him, however. Hereford right on his tail, trying to dip into the draft right now. Will he look to the inside into turn 1? There'll be plenty of better opportunities later on the race, and so he chooses not to try to overtake straight away, and not too many changes of position I'm at least seeing all the way down the order. So certainly nice work there from the prototypes, and good control there from Warner as well.
Indeed, as we continue to watch that GTD field, a lot of side-by-side action coming through turns 2 and 3, but able to keep things nice and easy. There you can see Nathan Healy back in 5th place in that GTAM, or the GTAM field, working their way around. Everybody nice and clean there. I'm very impressed with the cool track temperatures. Everybody keeping everything nice and orderly. I think everybody knows that this is an hour and 40-minute race, and you don't want to lose anything here on the first lap as we focus back into that battle for the lead. O'Leary starting to chase down Kraft.
He's running truly within the slipstream at the moment. Seemingly these top 3 pulled away as we've got Moke, Mokek off the track, and he's still off the track, and that's going to be a very awkward rejoin. Needs to be super careful in this scenario. Wow, well, he tried to leave as much space on the track as possible, and he was very fortunate that I think the other drivers were aware of his presence. He drops down into 14th place. He started in 11th, did the JD Sim Racing LMP2 driver. Has a bit of a mistake actually for Forsyth. I think he's just dropped down to 8th place. So the man who had taken 2nd place on lap 1, he's made a mistake. He's down to 8th, and well, he's trying to come back, but yeah, that is exactly not what he needed. He made a mistake on sector 2 of this lap.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was coming up through turn 5. We talked about just how treacherous that area is, but this puts him right in the middle of pretty much everything. This is Wemstra here trying to come up behind Forsyth, but that car's going to have a lot of speed in the 52. Good lines there coming out of that final corner as they all fly their way through that sweeping turn 1. A little bit of a wider line there behind for Shermans. I think he was just trying to carry a little bit more momentum, maybe take a later apex, and wasn't able to get that car completely turned down.
it's always interesting that turn one to see the different lines being taken by the various drivers. Of course, if you hit the curb on the outside, you are guaranteed to spin. It's absolutely treacherous out there. But at least the drivers in this pack keeping it on the circuit at the moment. But yeah, tight line, outside line. We'll be seeing a lot of that through tonight. As we've got a spinner up at the top of the crest, and that could be really bad stuff. I think that's been a good job there from Chris Wood for Team Mad to not make too much of a meal out of that one. But now he's trying to realise when he can go. He's got to the P2s are going to be going past soon, and that is into the P2 field there, and that is Kraft from the lead. That is absolutely dreadful news there for Daniel Kraft. I knew that the P2s were going to come around at some point, and it's the race leader who gets taken out there by Chris Wood, and that is absolutely dreadful news there for Kraft. I think he's trying to get into the pits right now, and he's got this same problem of trying to rejoin the circuit at a really treacherous part of the track.
And let's check out that replay. That was just absolutely unsighted for Daniel Kraft here. You can see him coming up over the hill, nowhere to go, tries to jerk out of the way. That looked like a little bit of glancing damage from the onboard, but from the outboard shot, that looked like some pretty heavy damage to the right-hand side of that LMP2. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some minor suspension damage to that 93. That could be day nearly done and dusted for your pole sitter and leader, and oh, that big jump's not going to help either.
Well, he has got a fast repair, fortunately, but it may well add an extra pit stop. I think these drivers... well, yeah, he hasn't gone far enough in the race. I think it's going to be a 2-stop for the PT cars, a 1-stop for the GT3 cars. And, well, that's a huge amount of time lost there for Daniel Kraft. He is now 50 seconds off the lead. I think any hopes of winning this race are surely coming to an end, seeing that he's very quick, but I don't think he's more than a couple of tenths of lap faster than some of his main rivals. Could probably still get a top 5 perhaps, but wow, that's going to be a long route back. So really disappointing way to start the season for Kraft. It would have been great to see him up there, but he's going to have to pull off some overtakes now to the end of the race. I think you may have just seen some changing of position between Forsyth and Claysons. I think Forsyth just keeping behind Claysons. Apologies, getting back past Claysons. So Forsyth after that error on lap 2, back up into 4th place. So we catch this GTD Pro field, and Warner has sprinted away. Really strong start for him at the moment. It's a BMW 123. Grebstad currently battling with his teammates Boyce and Hereford, so these guys kind of need to sort out who they think is faster and let them lead. But yeah, currently you wouldn't expect a crash between these two at least.
Well, you would hope not to see a crash in between the two, let's just say that. But battling like this, if they're able to keep it together, they may be able to play a little bit of, let's call it oval racing tactics, play a little bit of leapfrog with each other. The backstretch here, oh, that's Jodas off with a big off coming through the final corner. Some massive wing damage to the back of that Audi.
Absolutely craziness as the P2s come through, and they're having to get on the brakes here because there's absolutely no way through, and this is always the danger when you come through as the P2 class through the GT3s for the first time, and it's always like this. Expect to see this many times through the season. It's a very narrow circuit here at Red Atlanta, very experienced to multi-class racing, but it still is never easy, and in these PT cars you really need to try to get past before this part of the track, because this is where their pace advantage is really showing. As I don't know how you managed to all get through that. We did have one casualty, of course, and it'd be great to get a replay of exactly what happened to the Lithuanian driver who went off the track at the final corner. Yeah, but I love these moments, and personally, to drive in an endurance race, DJ, these are my favourite laps in an endurance race. When you have to deal with the multi-class traffic, it's high risk, but you can really gain a lot of time if you can get past quickly.
Well, it's one of the things that I love most about multi-class racing is somebody who's not exactly the fastest driver used to battling for the lead. When you race multi-class, there's always something going on out on the track, and it constantly keeps you on your toes, and that's exactly what we're seeing here out of these LMP2 drivers. And with the massive amount of experience and talent that we're seeing out of this Simracersworld Winter Series, what it really is as you said, Sam, just gaining all the time you can, finding that moment right there like we saw Sam Bentham doing, getting that dive in there through turns 2 and 3 to be able to get ahead before the S's. That's exactly the kind of stuff you have to do. Is we've got a nice little battle shaping up here for P3 in that LMP2 class between Forstyke and Alistair Catchpole.
Yeah, Forstyke seems much faster. He can win this race, although he's 10 seconds off O'Leary. Absolutely blistering through the traffic. He's extended that lead so quick. He was 1.5 seconds quicker on that last lap as we got an Audi off the circuit now, as Catchpole is going to lose that position. Who was that Audi? There's not too many out there, although on my live timing screen I haven't got the manufacturer's signs up, but that may have been not quite sure. Could have been Brandon Berg. I think he was the driver off the circuit. I remember Berg back in the Simracersworld GT3 series always ran the Audi, so I think that would make some sense there. Still, they are trying to get through the GT3s and lots of time there. I think that was one of the BMWs could have been Hereford. I think he was losing a lot of time being overtaken. Apologies, Grebstad losing a lot of time being overtaken as they continue to side through. So at the moment, in terms of retirees in this race, we've got Rutten, Vandenberg, Yotautas and Wood, all with probably Yotautas with a crash at the final corner, Wood with a crash with Daniel Kraft when trying to rejoin the circuit. And it seems like Dupan has got back out there, so I think we should just be at the 2 or 3 retirements at the moment.
Yeah, and of course, that one spare car over the course of the race will be helping out a lot of drivers, but sometimes you just get taken out early and it gets very, very disconcerting as we watch Kochi here as he continues to lead in that GTD AM category. Remember, qualifying up right in the midst of all of the GT pros, so some massive speed for the 293, really, really pulling it out there. Really impressive right now. Kochi, personally not a driver that I'm familiar with whatsoever, but wow, he is really performing exceptionally well with the 10th place out of the GTD AMS at the minutes lane in the pros, and yet 3.5 seconds ahead at the moment. I think that was Kaiser, wasn't it, just getting past Stakiokas. So good work from him, half a second fast on that last lap, so he should be able to pull away fairly quick. Bradley Holst there, 3rd place out of the GT3 AMS, very familiar driver, driven in the AOL GT Championship in the past, maybe the GT Trophy as well, and once again driving in these GT cars, and well, he's doing very well as it stands, and once again very much BMW domination, top 3 in the pros and top 4 in the AMS. Yeah, that seems to be the favored car here with the latest round of BOP. You're seeing a couple of Porsches working their way up there. We've seen them be favored, but the rear engine, rear-wheel drive combination of those new Porsche GT3s, it can just tend to catch some drivers out. I see one Ferrari up in the top 5s, 2 Lamborghinis popping their way up there as well, and one Mercedes. So always good to see the 3-pointed star getting a little bit of love around here. Personally, I'm a big fan of that mid-engine Ferrari. There is Nathan Healy in that lone Mercedes that we're seeing. Always one of the best sounds on iRacing, if I have to say so.
Yeah, and I love just the distinctive nature of all these different engines sounds, and yeah, the Mercedes certainly does have a growl to it. It is a really nice car, and it's awesome that iRacing have added so many GT3s. As Healy maybe getting stage fright there, going off the circuit, albeit himself as it was 3 wide for a very brief moment. The S's Valo managing to get past Healy right there. So I look back up at the P2 field, and O'Leary's now 12 seconds ahead. We're only 12 minutes into this race. If he carries on like this, he's going to win the race by about a lap. It's absolutely insane right now from O'Leary. Of course, remember, he only qualified in P3, Forstyke with a mistake, and then Kraft with a huge slice of misfortune. So he's not necessarily that dominant, but he's the one who's kept it clean so far and is a long way ahead. You can see how that gap has really climbed between about lap 5 and lap 8, gaining by about a second and a bit every single tour round, and now he's got a nice bit of free air to be able to push into. These P2 cars should be able to last, I believe, about 45 minutes into the race, and feel free to correct me on that one, anyone in the chat. I think probably 40 to 45 minutes these cars should be able to get, so yeah, should be quite an easy two-stop for these guys to complete.
Yeah, indeed, that 40 to 45 minutes. Ooh, there is that battle. Forsdyke trying to catch his way back up through the field. He might be brave enough to have a look through turn 1. No, Discretion being the better part of Vala for the Allen Tech and HR machine. He's going to have a little bit of lap traffic that they're coming up on, and will have to be interesting to see if he decides to use that as a bit of a pick. Oh, careful, boys. They're able to get that done around turn 3, 4 before they go into the S's. Now up through turn 5. Crucial here if he wants to get it. Turn 6, not necessarily an overtaking zone, and that wasn't the best run there for James Forsdyke. It just looked like he got that right rear tire up onto the curb a little bit more than he would have liked to. Maybe some wheel spin coming from the car, having to catch a little bit of oversteer, but that car is looking mighty under braking. Just look how much he was able to gain up on Freitas up ahead of him.
Yeah, it really seems to be very strong. Look at the straight line speed. Wow, this is maybe a low wing configuration, or maybe it's just the draft in these LMP2 cars, because that is a huge gain. As long as he's anywhere near coming out of turn 8, then or turn 7, apologies, he should be easy past. But that time, yeah, missed up the couple of corners prior and wasn't close enough for an overtake. But yeah, surely is just a matter of time. 2 great liveries, of course, and this car is a fantastic car to do liveries for. Just yeah, kind of shape for it. You can really get some good badges on it and good designs. And yeah, both these cars looking extremely good as the sun sets here in the Road Atlanta circuit. As Freitas a little bit held up once again. He's not getting too much fortune at the moment, and Forsdyke is probably close enough to be able to go for a move at the end of the back straight. Although again, he loses a little bit of time through turn 6 and turn 7, and he'll be very close going into the chicane this time round.
And turn 6, one of the most tricky corners on this track, I would actually have to argue. It's about a 3rd gear corner in these LMP2s, and it's so much faster than you think it is. You look at it in the circuit layout, it looks like Forsdyke's not going to be able to close down there through turn 10, but you look at that turn 6 on the layout and you think, okay, it's about 2nd gear. I've got to take this perfectly as, oh, we've got a nice little battle on track going down into the chicanes.
And this is Bentham passing Swemstra, I believe. He was fast on that last lap, so it does seem to be the momentum going his way. As Herber is off the track, and he was doing well up there in 8th position out of the abs. In fact, he started up in 5th position, sorry, on the grid. Is that damage? He seems to be, yeah, he's crapping a lot, isn't he? So I don't think it's worth Herber trying to get that back to the pit. Probably best to just tow it back, because that is going to be an absolute pain to drive, and he's yeah, still struggling to get back onto circuit. That would have been a high-speed crash to go off at that part of the track. I'm going to find exactly what happened to him. Was it some contact, maybe, with the close running P2s just behind the 142, minding his own business, the number 2 up the inside, and then, well, maybe the number 2 missed the apex slightly. The number 2 car is Darian Roy, running in 16th place, but that's just, you know, part of the danger of this circuit. As you see, Darian Roy going quite slowly right there. Sherman's is also off the circuit according to our timing screen. Sherman's just dropping behind. There he was, and he's another casualty at the SS.
Ooh, and that looks like a pretty head-on impact there. Looks like he is just waiting for a gap in the track, but he's going to find that a little bit difficult as the field is really running 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way down. Let's watch this. Little off the apex through turn 1, brings it up through turns 2 and 3, catches a little bit of the grass. Oh, brought a little bit too much speed into turn 3, caught some of the curbing, and just head on into the barriers. That is a very hard impact for Sherman's.
He's had to take back to the pits as well, so we've only got, well, I say we've only got, it's not been too bad, the attrition rate, but we've got 12 drivers now running clean in the P2 field. I think something happened to John Tusting because Dan Crafty got taken out, unfortunately, earlier on when another driver tried to rejoin the circuit. He is way down the water. In the GT3 Pro, oh, well, I think we just saw him move there from Neil Cooper, so it wasn't to Cooper. He's passed Stockman's. So excellent work there, 6/10 faster than Barrett's. Cooper was faster than a couple of the cars ahead of him as well, so expect him to start closing in on Boland and Reyes. But it is getting a bit closer now in the GT3 Pro field at the moment, because Warner, with only a 2.5 second gap, he was really extending that in the early stages. But Gribstad is kept much closer to him since. Gribstad also dropping his teammate, Oyston Hereford, at the moment. Yeah, on that last lap, Warner was able to extend a little bit, but it's really cat's and mouse between those top two at the moment.
Yeah, very much is, and that run out of turn 7 is not going to help Warner. You saw him catch a little bit of the grass, have to back off of the throttle so as to not completely spin those wheels, but Gerbstrad here really doing a good job to just slowly but surely reel in. He's not setting the world on fire with those sector times, but what he is doing is just running good, consistent laps, all within a couple tenths of each other, even with all the traffic that is coming in and out of his way. So the Norwegian here just doing a very, very good job to start to pull in. He's got that gap down to about under 2.3 seconds or so. A little bit slower on that last lap, unfortunately, as Warner was able to pull away to the tune of about 2/10.
And we see second and third in the P2s go past, and well, you can see that Forsyth now ahead of Freightos. I don't believe we saw that overtake, unless I'm being very forgetful, as Boland has got past Hereford. I think that's a problem for Hereford, yeah, so he's very slow all of a sudden as he got damage to that car. And he seems to be alright there, Hereford, but he seems to, he was about a second clear of Boland, and now he's a second behind Boland, so maybe some contact with one of the P2s and maybe just outbreak himself into turn 2 right there. So Hereford down into 4th position of Boland. I remember from, I think he did the first ever broadcast of the Simracersworld GT series that we did on Apex Racing TV. That was about 2.5 years ago, and I think he's done the vast majority ever since then. Boland, really loyal driver to this community, and great to see him doing so well. However, Hereford seems a lot faster, and after that mistake earlier in the lap, the Norwegian is able to get back into the podium places.
Yes, he is able to fight his way back there, so I wonder if that was just a little bit of contact, maybe a check-up through the S's caused by some LMP2 traffic. There's the 77 making a very good dive. Oh, that's an off for Hereford, but he's able to catch it. You see the flash of the headlights, a little bit upset there at Barnes in that LMP2. I think he felt that was his line. As, ooh, there comes another LMP2 sweeping around the outside of turn 2 before they make the dive into turn 3. Some very aggressive and brave LMP2 drivers out here today, Sam.
Yeah, they sure are. Yeah, we've got another car on the inside. It's a lapped down car. Could have been Craig Jones. Seems to be a bit stationary out on track. So, yeah, we're kind of just coming across kind of injured cars or wounded cars on the outside of the track quite commonly at the moment, but at least for our leaders in each of the classes, staying fairly consistent. As well, this man is super consistent. Kochi, he is now up into 8th place out of the GTDs, and that's a couple of places higher than what we last saw him. A couple of mistakes for drivers ahead of him, and he is now 6 seconds clear of the next GTD. Now, as Freightos is back past Forsyth, now has there been contact between Forsyth and one of the GTDs? Because it seems like there's a very slow GTD car at turn 2.
Let's go back and check out that replay. This is James Forsyth making his way through turn 1 right here. Gonna come up the hill, go through turn 2. Oh, nice. Right into the back of the Mercedes.
Nathan Healy, great work there, Sam, to find that one for SCC Simsports, and I don't know why Healy was going so slow. Any ideas?
I'm not entirely sure. That looks like it could have just been a misjudge of the braking. I'm not sure what it is, and that really caught James Forsyth rather out. Forsdyke out, and truthfully, he's going to have some more problems with it. All of that damage to the front end of the splitter, he's going to lose some front end grip potentially, and he may also lose a little bit of top line speed. The aerodynamics not working to full effect on that car, so that may be the problem that just keeps on taking away for the 52. We'll have to keep an eye on his lap times.
Yes, might have to be an earlier pit stop than what he originally planned for Dyke. Once again, 2-stop strategy for these P2 cars. And, well, if he pitted now, he could probably get to the end of the race only with one more stop. So, you know, that is a possibility for him, but you really don't want to be using a fast repair this early on, especially when you're fighting for the title, as I'm sure Dyke will be. When you got the damage that he's got, you want to try to save your faster pair for later on in case you make a mistake, or in case I think you have an instant where a GTD car rejoins the circuit and takes you out, like we had Dan Kraft suffer from earlier on. So we just see what he does at his pit stop. Doesn't seem to be too bad for him at the moment. Bentham was able to get past Barnes, by the way, on that last lap. You may have just seen that change on the timing tower, and we are now seeing a potential move between Zwemstra and Sembera. Alcantech versus JD Sim Racing, and the JD Sim Racing car's got a much better exit there. He was 7/10 faster on that last lap. On this lap, it's a little bit more up and down, different sectors, different pace for these cars. Lost a little bit at the start of the lap to Sembera, much faster in the second half of the lap, however, and they are extremely close. Zwemstra trying to extend that gap though at the moment.
Yeah, Zwemstra just trying to pull out a little bit, and you can see the number 11, Sembera, losing time. Let's keep our eyes here. I wonder if Sembera is maybe running a little bit more of that lower downforce setup, able to gain some times on the straightaways, and that could account for some of the difference between the two. Oh, some GTD traffic definitely going to play a little bit of a spoiler there. That is that damaged Audi that we've seen previously. All right, here comes Sembera. He's going to be able to tuck up behind in the draft, and if we suspect that that car is running a little bit more downforce, this is going to be a big shot for him.
Here we go, not too much of a defense it seems at the moment. The number 11 is past. Excellent work, and almost onto the perimeter of the track as well. That was fortunate for Zwemstra not to dip a wheel onto the grass. That could have been dreadful for him. I believe Clayson, has he just got past Catchpole? I thought I saw some changes there. No, it seems to all be in the same order still, to be fair. So, yeah, no changes at the top of the LMP2 field. So, got the 21 car trying to make his way through. I think that's Freitas getting his way through. And they was nearly contact days alongside with Andrew Hopley at the moment, who is 14th out of the pros in the GTD class. And he's got quite a big battle going on at the moment. You've got Samuel Lamont, Edward Knight, who is an amateur driver, then Andrew Hopley, who's another pro, and then you've got Kevin Stringer, who is an amateur. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the point system is in this series, whether it is separate points for the pro and the AMS, but well, at this point in the race, you just won't be passing everyone, once you be getting up the order. And yeah, this is an interesting fight between 2 pros and 2 AMS.
Exactly, and certainly from the amateur or the pro position, you want to get as many cars as you can in between your competitor in class as possible, whether it is scored just overall or whether it is scored specifically in class points. If you get a amateur in between you and your competitor in class, that's just going to help you pull away a little bit more potentially. So you want to fight tooth and nail as much as possible. As we watch Lamont here in one of the few Audis out in the field. Good run there through turn 5. He's starting to pull away a little bit from that amateur driver in the form of Knight.
As it has got very, very dark at Red Atlanta all of a sudden. The sun setting. I don't know if you can see what the in-sim time is. I don't know if maybe it's time acceleration. It's not. It's just 5:15 at the moment. So we will be ending in the dark as that was darting left and right. The 74. Mainly that was Alistair Catchpole getting through, but yeah, it's going to be dark before long. being this is the winter solstice, of course. So I don't know to celebrate that or anything. It's a horrible day of the year. Hates the short days. But yeah, at least it's going to get warmer after this. So the earliest sunset possible, at least for this track on iRacing. So yeah, going to be getting dark probably by the hour mark, I must say. So that is not something that I had thought of beforehand, but it's going to be another factor for these drivers to consider, as that is a very ambitious overtake. I think it was a bit over ambitious because there is contact between the two. BMW Stringer making contact with Knight right there, and well, he was trying to follow through with the P2, but I don't know, DJ, that seems very over ambitious to me.
Yeah, really and truly, any move coming through that turn 2-3 complex, unless you see a massive checkup from the car in front of you, I would advise against it. You really want to make your only overtakes on this circuit going into turn 1 or going into turn 10. Those are really about the only places. Going through it into turns 2 and 3, it's just kind of a recipe for disaster, Sam. That track really narrows up, and with it being a blind braking zone, a blind apex, you don't want to do it.
Yeah, and yeah, fortunately there wasn't that much contact, but it was just enough still to turn the cars around. So yeah, disappointing to see that one occur right there. And just a bit of an update on the progress of Dan Kraft, who of course had contact earlier on in the race when a GTD car rejoined the track. He is now up into 11th place, and he's currently 46 seconds off the lead. So Kraft has got that gap down from, I think, 49 seconds when he came out of the pits down to 46. So he is actually the fastest man out on track, is Kraft. So he is probably on course. He's probably on course for a podium right now. He could get second place out of this, could Dan Kraft, which would be really impressive stuff. Still got an hour and 10 to go in this race. So yeah, watch out for the Pure Sims Esports track.
Yeah, he is driving on a mission. You saw him just flicking past a bunch of those slower GTDs. You can see a prototype working its way up ahead of him. I believe that's Mochik up there that he is trying to get by. Who's got to thread the needle here between the two GTDs, and is able to do so quite well. Now back down onto the binders. Yeah, he, I think P3 very easily on the cards, potentially P2. I don't think he is going to have just enough time in the day as it's Swemstruck coming on into the pits.
It's very early. We think the drivers can go 40 minutes on fuel, and so pitting on the half now shouldn't be too bad for Swemstruck. I wonder if we could see him in the pit lane, see if he's maybe got any damage on that car. Seems all good to me. So, yeah, interesting tactic. Maybe one. Well, yeah, no, I was going to say maybe he's trying to evenly, you know, do out the stints, but of course he wouldn't even be doing that. Of course, half an hour would don't get you to the 1 hour 30 mark. But yeah, it's not an extra pit stop for him, but it is an interesting tactic. You'd think you'd want to run as far as possible on each stint, so that you've got the least amount of fuel in the car. But, well, maybe underfueled at the start of the race. Who knows? Certainly the top runners still continuing on out there at the moment. He's the only one to have dipped into the pits. Closing in at the moment for the GTD Pro. And it's also closing in for this battle as well. This is Kraft now getting past Mokek, and that is easy enough for him. But yeah, Warner and Grebstad are getting closer once again. Well, he did hint at this earlier on. It was at 2.5 seconds down to 1.5 seconds now. And Grebstad on that last lap gained by half a second. So it's getting closer between these two. Heather not sticking with them. Heather, of course, going back past Boland after a mistake earlier on. Cooper not doing a whole lot. He is closing in a bit on Boland and Reyes, but not at any significant rate. So it does seem to be a two-way battle at the moment in this class.
Yeah, indeed, and there you can see that lap time comparison between Warner and Grebstad doing a very good job to keep those laps in here under 2 seconds. He's going to be getting a little bit of help here, actually, from these LMP2s. If they can get by him in time, he'll be able to pick up just a little bit of a draft from him going down into turn 10. He's going to hope there that 74 is not going to compromise his braking too much. Looks like he's able to do it quite easily. And now what he's going to be hoping for is those same LMP2s are going to hurt Chris Warner a little bit. Yeah, Warner's got to get offline. They are going through that final corner. corner, and so that's going to hurt him a little bit. Indeed, it cost him about 0.4 of a second. So for Grebstrad, he just wants to keep his eye out for moments like that, where he can let the LMP2s by and not sacrifice any time, and then look for any opportunity for Warner to get slowed down by the LMP2s and just try to maximize that time.
I'm fairly certain about this answer, DJ. I'm not sure if maybe you have any more experience in the GT3s than I, but I assume when they come into the pits, the GTDs, they won't be taking tyres. I mean, 1 hour 40, even around quite a high-tech circuit like this, shouldn't be too bad for the drivers. Do you think there's any temptation for them to take any tyres?
I think there would be a temptation if we were running this race potentially, let's say, in July with triple-digit Fahrenheit track temperatures. But with as chilly as it is out on track, I don't think they will take tires. Now, for the LMP2s, depending on how long that last stop is, we could be looking at a little bit of a splash and dash style stop if they decide to push this out to about 40-45 minutes. You could be coming into the pits with only about 20 minutes to go. You may see an absolute blitz if you're in a close battle that you may want to take tires there to try to go for it. But I think the way to rule the realm here is going to be a no tire stop. Just try to conserve your tires as much as possible and not be too aggressive out on track.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I believe at least the P2s, certainly the GT3s, the tyres have to be taken separately. I believe that's the case with the P2s as well. So it's just not worth that 25 odd seconds that you're going to lose by taking tyres in these sports cars. So yeah, I think certainly wise. So whilst the pace might be different right now, go and remember that the drivers, or some drivers at least, will be saving their tyres, and that could be very important later on. These two have just been extending the gap, and then it's been contracting, but still no change. Freighter's still staying ahead of Forsyth. Forsyth did, of course, get past earlier on, but then had some sort of incident at turn 2 with a GTD car spinning in front of him, and yeah, since then Freighter's had the position, but now he gets held up a huge amount, and any gap that was in existence has very much gone now, as Forsyth tries particularly close to the GTD BMW. He was getting past right there, and well, this is his best opportunity for a little while, but once again it's all about just staying close around this part of the track as Bentham is into the wall, and that is with the 125 car of Andrew Hopley. He was in about 14th place in the GTDs, and that is a huge shame there for Sam Bentham. He was running, I believe, in 5th position.
Yeah, indeed he was, and I think this is the infamous turn 5, catching both drivers out here. Let's see what happened. Oh, it was a spin in front of him and absolutely nowhere to go for the 99 of Sam Bentham. He was just a hapless passenger there coming down through the S's.
And anyone who's driven with the BMW, as we see, Freitas into the pits. As well, this is 3 wide. Oh, this is absolutely incredible. Is that Sambera into 6th position? Kraft is going to get past, however. Oh, that is one for the photos for round 1 of the championship. Excellent work there. Sambera getting ahead of Barnes, so Barnes the big loser. But, I mean, the BMW is big anyway. I mean, the BMW usually fills up the entire circuit when it's pointing in the right direction. When it's sideways, I mean, there's absolutely no chance of avoiding it in that scenario. So, yeah, real bad news there. So a couple of the P2 cars getting unlucky so far in this race, as we are about a third the way through into the event. And certainly Freitas coming into the pits certainly does indicate that pit stops are on the horizon.
Yeah, and I think here what some of these drivers are doing by coming in a little bit early, as we said, we anticipate them coming in, the maximum fuel stint being about 40 to 45 laps of fuel for these LMP2s. I think what they're doing is they're taking that shorter pit stop, that sort of splash and dash style pit stop here on the early side. That could be what Zwemstra was thinking of doing, is taking that quick pit stop now and then making the final 2 stints the longer ones. So it's a little bit of strategy difference, and we'll have to see once we get down to about the 130 mark how that plays out, as Peter Jan Claeson's now the latest down pit lane.
yeah, because if you can get into the pits just as you approach some traffic up ahead, it is certainly a good thing to do, and avoid that and get your pit stop done. And yeah, you avoid having to make all of those overtakes. So yeah, that undercut can work well. As a few more drives in still, O'Leary and Forsyth staying out. But here comes O'Leary, so it's not quite as far as we thought. So this does seem to be the limit pretty much with everyone coming into the pit. So just short of that 40 minutes, 37 or 38 or bit. Of course, you also have the formation lap as well, which may have shaved off about half a lap of fuel for the drivers. So O'Leary, who has dominated and really should have one hand on this race win, just needs to make sure that this first pit stop goes all correct. His pit stop was one of the last on the down the pit lane, due to the fact that he was so high up in the practice order, and anyone remaining also coming into the pits. Forsyth, and this will be close now for Forsyth. He'll be hoping that he's done enough to overcut Miguel Freitas.
Yeah, he will indeed, and that really just comes down to that in-lap and out-lap for Forsyth, so we'll have to keep an eye out Freitas where he comes around right now. Nice and easy there for Forsyth. He's able to come in and hit the box. There is Miguel Freitas working his way down the backstretch right now. He's going to have a pretty clean run here. One of the BMW GTDs up ahead of him may slow him down a little bit into the latter part of the lap, but I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, this could be extremely close. Freitas with 32.67 stationary. Forsyth is approaching that at the moment, 30, 31, 32. Well, it's a little bit long. Well, 32.8, so pretty much matching. Who is going to be ahead here? It's going to be close. O'Leary still ahead of the pair of them. Freitas is just ahead into third position, and yeah, so he keeps that place for now. That will turn into P2 once Kraft makes his pit stop. But yeah, good work there from Freitas. Just about did enough on those fresh tyres. And Forsyth will have to get it done on track instead.
Yeah, and Kraft obviously back up the point as a result of that early stop. We still anticipate him having to make 2 more, although he'll be able to go a little bit longer here. The one advantage for him is that he will be able to have probably a little bit of a shorter stop on that last run, that he won't have to take nearly as much fuel, having put that in earlier on in the race. So I don't think that's going to have a massive amount. Obviously, taking that early pit stop really damaged him, put him farther back down in the order, but it could just be a little bit of interesting pit strategy to play off down the line.
Catchpole has caught up to Clayson's during the pit stop sequence. It seems down to just 0.6 of a second now are those two drivers. PJ, or Peter Yan, as he's put his name down for this series. A very competitive driver, I remember, in the GT3s. I think he won a couple of rounds in the last season that we broadcast on Apex Racing TV. I'm half surprised, and I don't mean this as a criticism to Clayson's or anything. I'm half surprised he's not doing a little bit better, being around that Freitas Forsyth range, albeit he is only 8 seconds behind at the moment. But basically what I'm saying, he's a very competitive driver, is the Belgian, so really expect him to come on strong as the season goes on, and he's a little bit wide. Still no one bidding it actually through that turn 5 so far, but well, it's yeah, surely still only a matter of time, at least in my mind, as yeah, he's just 1 second clear of Catchpole at the moment. Warner down to 0.6 of a second now. Wow, this is as close as it's been for the whole race, and Grebstad will now be getting a little bit of the draft from the GTD leader.
Yeah, indeed. I anticipate that draft coming into real efficacy at about 0.8 of a second for those GTDs, so he is certainly within range of it. For Grebstad here, he doesn't want to probably push too hard. He just wants to fill that rear view mirror of Warner as much as possible. And this could be something that we haven't really gotten a chance to talk about yet, Sam, in these GTD cars, where we anticipate really only a one-stop race out of them. Grebstad could just be trying to save a little bit of fuel here. He can just kind of tuck up behind, be a little bit lighter on that right foot, try to extend his pit cycle a little bit longer, maybe go for a little bit of an overcut, and then put in some blistering hot laps once Warner has to come on into the pits.
I think that would be a very wise decision for him. Maybe get it done, yeah, a little bit later on in the race, because only these drivers will really know how strong the draft effect is, but I'm not sure if you'll necessarily have the pace to pull away out of the draft necessarily, Grimstad. So yeah, just staying behind himself, saving that fuel, knowing that you'll be able to go one lap further later on could be a huge benefit for him. Let's see what he does. He is a bit closer than he was on the last lap, 0.4 of a second back, so he could maybe go for a dive, getting down to 0.3, and as he gets closer and closer, as the speed increases, well, that draft effect becoming really powerful, and it did seem like he was lifting off a bit early there, so I think maybe following your tactics right there. As Kraft finally into the pits, he has a normal pit stop time, 33.5 seconds, so a normal amount of fuel going into that car, and he rejoins the track in 6th position overall, as there's a good battle. Well, maybe we'll stick with this battle for a little bit longer, because well, this could change any moment, and at the moment they're in a bit of a pocket of no traffic. There's no P2s overtaking them, and we did just see one, but certainly no packs of P2s moving past at the moment, so this is a straight battle as you would see in a solo series race.
Yeah, and probably a welcome relief for both of those drivers. And the other thing here that Grebster will be able to do is kind of start to put some of the mental pressure on Warner. We don't talk about it a whole lot, but so much of racing like this is just a mental game. And if you're able to fill up those rear view mirrors as much as possible with your car, especially a big chunky car like the BMW, like we talked about earlier, even the most experienced drivers will glance in the rearview mirror a little bit as they come on. They'll have to be looking in the back because they don't want to open themselves up to an opportunity, and that can force a mistake. As we rode on board there with Grebstead, you hear just lifting a little bit, going down into that final turn 10 sequence. Yeah, I think he's playing the long game here, definitely doing a little bit of fuel conservation.
And Hereford managing to keep tabs with these drivers a bit more now, so he's 5.7 seconds back, and that gap hasn't really increased over the past sorts of 20 minutes or so, at least from what I've seen. So good work there from Hereford. He's keeping himself in play on that last lap. He did lose 1/10 of a second, but certainly much more competitive than what he was earlier on. So the Igneo Motorsports driver seemingly getting stronger as this race goes on, with Warner maybe getting a little bit weaker. Good battle currently between Stockmans, Staki Okas and Kochi. Kochi, of course, top of the GTD AMS, but he is currently the 3rd man in this little pack, and this is the battle for 7th, 8th and 9th in the overall GTD standings. Kochi, as you can see on the timing screen, only 5.5 seconds ahead of Hodgson, so a few of these gaps, at least in the GTDs, they seem to open up for the race leaders initially, and then since then actually they've got a bit more competitive, because both Hodgson and Hulse are keeping tabs with Kochi out in the lead.
Yeah, indeed, and that may just be a little bit of a setup difference. You know, a lot of these GTD cars, yes, they're big, heavy cars, production model cars. It's not like you're out running a single-seater necessarily, but at the same time, they will act differently under different fuel loads, as they really and truly can come alive a little bit more as they get lighter. The tires wear off a little bit, that fuel load burns off, they get a little bit looser, and for some drivers, once you get that car a little bit looser, the tail end likes to wiggle a little bit more. It allows for them to just push all that little bit more, and so that may be what we're seeing out of Hodgson and Halsey here, being able to close in a little bit more on Kochi.
Thanks to Bart Dillman, of course, series organizer, just letting me know that the points are scored for the overall GTD position, as Catchpole, I think, is off the track to me. Oh, that's not a great rejoin either for the 74. Oh yeah, that could have been done better from so he's driven very well tonight, but that was not the best rejoin I've seen so far this year. So here was the 74. I guess he's just pushed it a bit too hard. He was running behind the 99, who is a lap down, Sam Bentham. Ooh, that's a big hit into the wall. Now, well, that rear wing, at least to me, DJ, seems to be not misshaped, but well, that'll be a miracle if he's got away without too much damage.
think a miracle is the right word, and that's a very easy mistake to make there for Alistair Catchpole. There's a really kind of weird quirk of the track here at Road Atlanta that you have grass and then it opens up. There's a little bit of an access road that leads out that a lot of support cards, but I will say here he's losing a lot of time there, so it may not be visible damage to the rear of that car, Sam, but definitely losing some time. And did you see that big snap of oversteer that he had? Yeah, he's going to come down pit lane.
And the 99 of Bentham also coming in. Of course, he had to make a pit stop earlier on in the race, so he is well off sequence. So, yeah, that's a shame for Catchpole. Thought he might have got away with that. And, of course, he will not be able to get to the end of the race from here. So, he'll have to use up his fast repair and, yeah, also have an extra tour down the pit lane. And, yeah, that's pretty bad news right there for him as we catch back with our leaders, Warner versus Grebstad. And I'll also just take this quick opportunity to thank SDK Gaming for sponsoring this series. SDK Gaming, of course, providing our overlay. You can see the fantastic timing tower on the left side of the screen. A new feature to divide all the classes up as they are there. And it's, yeah, really smart. I hope that you viewers are enjoying. Hopefully it's displaying the information that you need, and it's also great, of course, SDK Gaming for live timing and as a heads-up display for whilst you are driving. So do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk in order to get yourself a subscription. Grips are just losing a little bit of time as we kind of become accustomed to. However, surely going to be forced offline there, Warner, and a big bit of time being gained by Grebstad. This is as close as he's been all race long, but on this part of the track, Warner again understeering slightly through turn 7, and we could have a move on anyway.
We could indeed. Grebstad looking very menacing there in that rear view camera, pulling up behind. There comes some move to what will be the inside of turn 10. Let's see who's later on the brakes, as it's a battle of late breakers. I don't think Warner's going to fight him all that much, and indeed, Grebstad able to take the lead in those GTD Pros.
It's been coming for quite a while, and about 10 minutes before we expect these drivers into the pits, that could be a huge moment in the race. Now, the big question for Warner, has he got the pace to keep up with the race leader, or has Grebstad got some time up his sleeve and can maybe pull out a gap before the pit stop sequence comes in? Warner will certainly be hoping for the former. As Hereford, has he made a mistake? He's off the circuit, is Hereford. I think he's got away with it, but he's well, it's that turn 1 which is the problem corner for the drivers tonight, and I was saying how well he was doing to keep up with the race. He's got a little bit of a slowdown as well, seemingly to serve Jürgen Kaiser into the pits. Now that is a bit early, but that is halfway into this race, so maybe just wanting to perfectly half and half this race.
Yeah, I anticipate the fuel window for these GTDs to be about from now until about, let's say, an hour and 5 minutes down in the race. So that should be about where it is. I think that half and half strategy, just what he's going for.
And, well, I'll keep an eye on his times, but we are fully expecting the drivers not to take tyres. If you're taking tyres, 25 seconds lost, and you're probably only going to be able to make 5-10 seconds of that back by the end of the race. So almost certainly just fuel, and of course that will make the car quite tricky to drive, albeit of course with the cooler track temperatures out here might counteract the loss of grip you get from the rubber out there. Getting quite close between Boland and Reyes and Cooper. Now, I hinted, I think about 5 minutes into the race. Cooper looks quite quick. He is catching up to Reyes. About 45 minutes later, he's caught up. It's taken him a little while, but he is pretty much there. You can see 0.2 of a second passed on that last lap. That has been really what it has been for most of the laps, and this is for the top of the Lamborghini runners as well. A little bit of pride in that, I'm sure. And on that last lap, these guys were both a bit slow, probably traffic involved, but they're actually 2 seconds slower than their class leaders. So yeah, maybe a mistake for the pair of them. Anyway, Cooper is very much within passing range. He needs to be about 0.3 of a second behind coming out of turn 7 if that GTD Pro battle for the lead was anything to go by.
Yeah, exactly. And you said a little bit slower for these Lamborghinis. Now, these are cars in particular that tend to abuse their tires a little bit more. And the farther along you get in the run, they tend to get very, very oversteery. They really want to step out on you. A lot of torque being put down in these cars. But, oh, that looks like a late move there for Cooper. Is he going to try to go for it? No. And that's not going to cost him any time. Now looking for the over-under, but a great defense there from Reyes, just planting that car in the middle of the track.
Oh, as we've got a P2 around the outside, is he going to be able to make that one out to 77? Making his way, that was John Barnes. He's already had problems actually with GTDs earlier on in the race around that corner. As I've got another one off, that is Johan Kaiser, who's recently come into the pits as well, Kaiser. Now, I can only hope he hasn't used his faster pair accidentally, but, well, how on earth does that one happen? That must have been contact with another car.
Must have been. Let's watch it. Ooh,
No,
a little bit of
it was the number 2. Oh, well, it wasn't quite related. So it was the 2 and the 22. So the 22 was Jason Ashfield, and the number 2 was stationing off the track, which was Darian Roy. So I think Jason Ashfield's got to take responsibility for that one.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and very much just caught between a rock and a hard place was that Porsche, and paying the price for it on a big flip. Luckily enough, not quite enough damage to completely ruin it. Is he going back? Yeah, he's going to try to make his way back around and not have to sacrifice the time to take a tow, but probably will come back into the pits and get that faster pair.
Oh, that's super close. Great to see Reyes really fight this one against Cooper. I mean, I am very much, as we've got the P2, they can't get round there. Oh, well, thank goodness Reyes came into the pits, and it did offer a little bit of a route round, otherwise 3 wide heading into the final corner. That's lost Cooper a lot of time, though. And, well, I said when, yeah, well, that's another 21 then for Neil Cooper. And also Hereford just having another poor lap. So Hereford's lost the place to Boland now. So he's had an awful few laps, Hereford. He just did a 22, that's 3 seconds off the pace. Don't know if there's anything coming up on the event viewer on our timing, but yeah, Hereford, who was a comfortable third, and built up a gap against Boland. His pace was seemingly getting stronger, but he's made a couple of mistakes in the past 5 minutes.
You know, and that can happen at around this halfway point in a pseudo endurance race like this, Sam. You just lose a little bit of focus. The night starts to set in a little bit. It gets harder and harder to see your braking markers, and it becomes easier and easier to make those mistakes. And I think here for Hereford, my best advice to him is come on down pit lane. Take that 30-second reset, stretch your fingers, stretch your legs out a little bit, just kind of get a full mental and body reset, and then come back out on track and go back pushing.
Yeah, I think that might be a good decision, and yeah, so certainly for myself as well. It's getting darker and darker, and what I wouldn't want to do is pit just as it gets really dark, and then you have that kind of reset, and then suddenly you think, oh no, it's dark. I'd almost want to have it going dark whilst I'm driving, just so that I maybe don't notice it, but that's maybe a bit of a quirk for myself. I absolutely hate drive. Well, I dislike commentating in the dark because it makes us very tricky to figure out who's who out on circuit, and to drive is not too satisfying either, as we've got the 21 getting held behind. Of course, Kratos and Forstyke are battling one another. How else would it be? As well, it's almost a traffic jam, as they've just got to get on the brakes, trying to get past these GTD cars. But they've done a good job, just good patience around that part of the track. Warner into the pits. So that is, well, that's one of the first GTDs to come to the pits, but Boland is also in, so this seems to be the limit. And I think you were right what you were saying earlier on when you were saying that Grebstad could save some fuel. I think he has saved some fuel, and it seems like he's been able to go one lap further than his main rival, Chris Warner.
Yeah, and the big thing here for Grebstad is he's able to run a nice, clean lap here. He'll be able to definitely get up ahead. There you can see him. All right, not great. He's had to give a little bit of time, but that's going down into turn 6, so it's not like it's going to lose him too much. He just doesn't want to get caught out by an LMP2 around here. As we take a look at the track map, He's got some LMP2s coming up behind him. Hopefully they'll be able to get by him by the time they go down into turn 10.
He needs to make sure that he gets his intentions clear here, because what he doesn't want is a P2 to go underneath him over the crest and then not be able to come into the pits, because they are going to catch him right at that point. Maybe a little bit short, but he needs to get to the right-hand side of the track. That's what he tries to do. He needs to try to get into the pits. He can't get into the pits. And, oh no, well, I mean, I'm going to say it. I totally predicted that one. And Grebstad does get into the pits, but did he cut the pit lane entry, and will that be a penalty?
You read my mind there, Sam. I think that may be an unsafe pit entry, and that will give him a penalty. So that is not good. It is easy to do that here at Road Atlanta. Not nearly as easy as other tracks on the iRacing service, like the Red Bull Ring, for example, where I happen to see that about once or twice a race. But we've got to go back here on that battle between Freitas and Forsdyke as that continues to rage on.
Yeah, this is still super close. Their pace has actually been better since the pit stop compared to what it was earlier on. The gap's only gone up by, I think, 3 or 4 seconds since they last pitted. And so that is not too bad for them, considering they went up to about 23 seconds in the first stint of this race. So maybe the fresh tyres helping them. Forsdyke, I mean, I say it every single time, this is close enough for him if he can stay close enough around this turn 6 and turn 7. That looks very good this time for Forsdyke, and the draft effect in these P2 cars is really quite strong. It's a lot stronger than what I thought it would be, and it's going to be a great opportunity for him to overtake now. The 21 does have a draft from the BMW just ahead, but still, Forsdyke is going to have huge overspeed in the second half of the straight. But it wasn't enough for him. He's not able to overtake, as Grebstad is into the, of course, still in the pits. Oh no, so Grebstad was stationing for 40 extra seconds. He did get a penalty, and Hakon Grebstad has lost probably a race that he was going to win. Certainly in the top 2, I think, was guaranteed. But Grebstad, with that tricky pit entry, has lost any chance. He's now, I mean, he's not 1:17 behind, but he's going to be 40 seconds behind.
Yeah, he's going to have it all to do for him here, and it's just, it's such a heartbreak there to see for a driver that was running such a good race, and frankly had a penalty that wasn't really of his own doing. He tried to get over, but those two LMP2s just getting in the way of him, as I believe that's that battle that we were watching, the 21. Yeah, that's Freitas and Forsdyke as they get on by him.
I think has Warner messed up his pit stop as well. Warner has also had a really long pit stop, 1:03. So the top 2 in the GTD Pro have had huge problems, and it's basically gifted the race lead here to Hakon Grebstad. Apologies to Oystein Herford. This is a total change of roles, because now that Hicks and Musselwhite and Dupin are in, that is all the pit stops complete. So let's see what happened to Warner. I wonder if this is on the pit, on the pit limiter. I think you get away with that. I know that he's close there.
That looks a little fast coming down. Yeah, I think that was a stop and hold for pit lane speeding. That's got to be the only explanation.
Yeah, I'm going to look back on my system, see if we can get some numbers on that one. But wow, what a change. So Hereford and Boland are now the leaders in the GTD Pro field. Cooper 17 seconds back. He's now into a podium place, and Warner and Grebstad with a lot of work to do. Saying that though, I mean, they could probably, well, they should still get back to 3rd and 4th, I think, should those two. Hereford and Boland with a strong gap over them, not necessarily decisive. They can't afford too many mistakes. But, well, we had this narrative absolutely set out for this race, and it's been thrown out right there.
Leave it to multi-class racing to just completely throw our narratives out the window there, Sam. Always presenting something different and interesting, but we'll have to see what the pace is here from Warner and Grebstad as they continue to fight back through the field. Maybe they've got a little something in them. We'll have to see.
thanks to everyone who's been watching the stream. Really great to have so many of you watching along, and especially picking up viewers as the stream goes on. Clearly being a very good race in all 3 of the classes so far. Of course, do let us know in the YouTube chat who you are supporting. And yeah, also let us know if there's any liveries that you like. It's a bit more tricky to tell as the race goes on and the sun starts to set, but it's still let us know. It'll probably just be, you know, liveries that your team is running, but you know, that's still an opinion. So do let us know what you think of all of them. As Jason Hodgson is now in the lead of the amateur class. Apologies for missing that one, but Hodgson has gained 8 seconds on Kochi during that. So Hodgson's pit stop time was 33 seconds. Kochi was 48 seconds. So it's gone from an 8-second advantage for Kochi to an 8-second advantage for Hodgson now.
My goodness, I'm not sure what happened there for Kochi, but he was just the class of the field, absolutely. But yeah, Hodgson able to get ahead, so kudos there to the 221 driver.
So this, I mean, I wouldn't want to call this one now. Hodgson did lose most of the gap in the first few laps of the race, and he seemed to be able to match Kochi for the rest of the stint. So not sure if Kochi will necessarily catch up. What's the time? So well, 6/10 faster. Kochi needs to keep that up, and he might be able to still win in the amateur category as Jacko Boschov comes into the pits, the lone South African out in the field for this series. As yeah, Ben Hicks trying to, he was one of the last drivers to come into the pits. He's also making his way through. Matthew Southey, who is a driver in the Apex Racing League NASCAR B-Class Championship. Very different cars, of course, to these, but we can see him trying a multitude of disciplines at the moment. As the battles, on the most part, down the field, starting to cool down a little bit. Just a quicker maybe rundown of who our top 3 are in each of the classes. We've got Thomas O'Leary currently dominating the P2 field. He is 30 seconds ahead of James Forsyth and Miguel Freitas. Forsyth getting ahead of Freitas. Not sure if we saw that one actually. So that one's been going for a while, but I'm sure they'll be battling for P2 in the future. Dan Kraft, who got taken out by a rejoining GT3 car earlier on, has been the fastest man out on track for the most part in this race, but he is 42 seconds behind. However, is on course for getting P2 by the end of the race if he can keep up this pace. Oyston Hereford is leading in the GTD Pro field, 8/10 of a second ahead of Bod Boland. Cooper is in 3rd place, however, Warner and Grevstad leading the way earlier on, but they had problems in their pit stops. And then Hodgson leading by 6 seconds over the chasing Kochi. Holtz with a bit of a poor pit stop, I think, on that last time round as well, so he could be quick as well as Grevstad. Just seeing him come up off track on our screens, doesn't seem like he's lost too much time. He stays in 6th place, but yeah, Hodgson, Kochi and Holtz top 3 in the GTD house.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting race out here, Sam. A lot of drama, as you would expect from Road Atlanta. And I've got to think, as this sun continues to set and the margin for error becomes smaller and smaller for these drivers, both because of limited visibility and because we don't anticipate really anybody taking tires out here, that this is going to get closer and closer and closer. That's a very slow LMP2 making its way through turn 10.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure who that one was, but well, it seems like Jason Hodgson was able to get past at least. Down to, wow, look at that, 1.2 seconds. Come on, Jason, need some pace here, mate. Need to yeah, up this one a little bit. I'm sure he is driving everything right now, but yeah, he needs better pace than that if he's going to keep behind Kochi to the end of the race. Already down to 5.4 seconds. Big chunk taken out on the last couple of laps from that gap. So the Czech Republic driver still trying to race along. Of course, he was running as high as 7th place earlier on, I think, in the GTD overall, as Ben Hicks is off the track. And this will put him a lap down, I think, compared to his class leader, as he tries to find a good spot to rejoin. That was a good spot to rejoin, but he wasn't quite in the right position. Still hesitating. Good to see Hicks hesitate like this, but oh, such a tricky position to be in.
Well, yeah, especially at that point on the track. That's that very tricky turn 2, 3, and whoa, that's going to be an LMP2 driver a little bit scared of coming around like that. But yeah, coming up over like that, very easy to lose the car, especially in cooler conditions. Remember, as the track continues to cool as the sun sets, that means the tires are going to be a little bit cooler overall, even though they've been out and running on track. And if you don't keep an eye on that, this is really an area where you've got to keep an eye on tire temperatures, not necessarily overcooking the tires, but making sure that they keep in a good operating temperature, especially with this long back straightaway. There's not as much lateral motion going into them, heating up the surface of the tires, and it becomes very, very easy to lose grip in that regard.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We do need to be able to manage them well in order to keep those lap times strong, as Warner is almost caught up to Cooper. Swemstra with another pit stop. Now, can he get to the end? He can do, so the pit window very much open for those P2s. Now anyone who pits in the P2 class will be able to get to the end of this. Is very messy. Oh, Warner was catching so much on Cooper, and then he just loses a heap of time being held behind. It was kind of the GTD car that was very much getting in the way. That was the 25th place man of Nathan Healy, just trying to get out of the way. Nothing really that Healy did wrong on that occasion, but just a tricky scenario around this circuit. Yeah, it is in 10th place at the moment out of those GT3 outs. I'm quickly having a check to see what the rest of the calendar is looking like for the series. Of course, every fortnight we are hosting these races, Apex Racing TV, and then the weeks that we're off, you've got the TCR, so you've pretty much got everything or something on every Tuesday evening. And yeah, future rounds of the championship: Watkins Glen on the new Watkins Glen circuit, Daytona, Mid-Ohio, Road America, and Sebring. So all American circuits for this season. DJ, gonna put you on the spot. Any of those tracks which really stand out to you?
I'm very excited to see these guys take on Mid-Ohio. It's a track that doesn't get a whole lot of love here on the iRacing service, but it is one of my favorite in the world. A very technical, difficult track, very narrow at points, much like out here at Road Atlanta. I think that is going to be one to certainly keep your eye on, as well as the sort of marquee events that we often see IMSA out running. Watkins Glen, always a personal favorite of mine to drive. I love the flow of that track, and obviously seeing these guys run on Sebring, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that.
Yeah, they're all really cool rounds of the championship. I do like it when a series has a theme to its tracks. Does make it a little bit better compared to going to Australia and then Japan and then Europe and America and back all again as well. So no, really cool selection of circuits. Personally, Watkins Glen next time out, I haven't yet broadcasted a race. I haven't even driven the new version of the track yet, so I'll be particularly looking forward to that round of the series. Should be a lot of fun. But well, this Road Atlanta circuit, a bit of a baptism of fire, one of the trickiest tracks on this calendar. But so far the drivers have dealt with it very well. Frostake was able to get past Freitas, but Freitas is coming back on that last lap. He actually gained by 2.3 seconds, and that came really across the entire lap. A bit faster in sector 1. Well, actually on this lap he was a bit faster in sector 1, but yeah, the second half of the previous lap, Freitas really gained by about a second on the driver ahead. So there's no separating these guys, but they're now only 5 seconds ahead of Dan Kraft, and it is looking inevitable that Kraft will catch up by the end of the race.
Yeah, I think your earlier prediction there, Sam, of him being able to get that P2 certainly on the boards. Woo, they've got a whole melee of GTDs that they're having to work their way around, but very well navigated both from Forsythe and Freitas, doing a very good job here to keep this battle up.
Now they've got another Porsche as well, catching at the absolute worst point as Knight getting past Stringer. And he is passed. Excellent work there from the Ignium Motorsport Spark driver. Was quite a bit faster. In fact, really good lap time that last time out for Edward Knight. It was only 0.3 off his best lap time, which, considering that he's got a decent amount of fuel in that car and barely old tyres, is a very good effort. So that car seems to be getting fairly quick as the race goes on. And you can see the gap that he's already pulled up. Knight did have an off earlier on. We didn't really mention it, but I think he lost about 3 or 4 seconds, which I think may have been when he lost that 4th place. As Warner is past Cooper, that's a very important move. He's up into 3rd, and he's got 20 seconds to catch up to the top 2. He's going to need a favour. I don't think Warner's got enough pace to close that by himself. He's going to need a mistake from the top 2, but Warner at least into those podium places, and crucially not letting Grebstad catch up to him too much either.
No, he's not, and I've got to give massive credit there to Warner. That was a very, very aggressive pass going down into turn 10 on that Lamborghini of Cooper. Just a big, big late braking maneuver. You can see there's certainly a little bit of red behind the eyes of that 175, and he wants to try to get back on that GT Pro podium.
Oh, Tusting. Quantum Racing. I think teammates with Sam Bentham, if I recall correctly. No, Bentham. I thought Bentham was part of Quantum Racing, but maybe I'm getting that wrong. I thought he was Quantum Racing, but maybe he left. I know that was like 2 years ago. I think he was from Quantum, but he is put down as a Predator, at least in this series. Oh dear, Matthew Southey. Oh, he was doing well up in P10 out of the GTDs. And that's, again, there's not really an easy place to rejoin the track here at Road Atlanta, but that is certainly one of the worst. He's trying his best. He's to a bit of a tighter turn than that. That's good work there from Southey. He needs to make sure he doesn't get disqualified as well. If he went much further backwards like that, then he would have got the black flag. Freitas into the pit, so he was very close to 4 strike, remember, but we are expecting really all the P2s to have to pit within the next 5 minutes or so of this race. And yeah, so Freitas pitting a little bit early. We did see him the first man to pit actually in the first stint as well. So yeah, trying it a bit different, and he'll try to do the undercut on 4 strike.
One of the drivers that I'm very interested to see how this is all going to shake out for is Zwemstra in the 25 in those LMP2s. Remember, he took that early pit stop at the first part in the race. He's currently back in P8, but everybody else ahead of him still has to pit. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see what this 25 can do here, putting in the tires and putting in the laps and going on an utterly alternate strategy from the rest of the field.
Yeah, I'm just saying, who's he in range of? So he should get Simbera, shouldn't he? He should get Catchpole. I don't, although, yeah, should get those 2 drivers, I imagine. Of course, Catchpole had that problem early on, which forced him to come into the pits for an extra time. So Zwemstra should get ahead of them, but yeah, might be under pressure come the end of the race. But I think, well, we always support the alternative strategies, as Barnes is the next man to come to the pits. He will drop behind Freitas and Simbera, I believe. So I might be being thick here, but did we see something happening to Simbera? I thought he was ahead of Barnes earlier on, but he seemed to fall quite far behind Barnes, because he's passing now, but he's still got an extra pit stop to go.
I don't think we've seen anything necessarily, Sam. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. That must have just eluded our eyes while we were watching some of the battles going on down in the GTD field.
I think so. He is struggling a little bit on his lap times, and yeah, 62 on that last lap was quite slow. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he's got a bit of damage to Simbera, but yeah, I thought he was ahead of Barnes earlier on. Thought he managed to make quite a good move on him, but yeah, seemed to drop quite far back. Let's see if he's got the pace to catch up later on. Does still have 1 more pit stop to go. He last pitted on lap 31 as our race leader is into the pits. Thomas O'Leary, Perfection Racing, and well, we've seen the GTD Pro leaders mess up their pit entry and probably lose a chance at the race win. I don't think O'Leary had any problems there, and honestly, he could have something like that and he'd probably still win. A 40-second penalty would still put him out onto track with well, probably even with P2 and P3 as Sambera into the pits. But yeah, Olu will soon get back underway, and well, what an easy round one this has been for him, absolutely in a league of his own.
Yeah, absolutely in a league of his own, but let's not jinx him too much if you're a fan of O'Leary. Knock on all the wood that you have, because as we have seen, just about anything can happen here at Road Atlanta. Is there your well, Subi leader, as Forsdyke, we anticipate coming into the pits in the next couple of laps here, makes his way back out onto the track through turns 2 and 3 and down into that beautiful plunging S's section. Absolutely love it. And obviously iRacing putting in some of the addition that Road Atlanta has added, a little bit of the night lighting there. You can see it really just giving just a little bit of illumination on these cars, just enough for us as commentators to be able to pick them out and tell you who you're watching.
We appreciate it massively, so thank you to iRacing for that. But yeah, please give us some more floodlights, because I want to see the track absolutely bathed in light, if possible. That would really help our job quite a bit. So Kraft and Olu, this is the battle we wanted to see, and this was the battle that was lining up in the first few laps. Come on, guys, I want Kraft just to overtake Olu, just for the sake of him being able to say, oh, I would have beaten you, I would have beaten you. He's probably got about 2 laps to go, because of course he was able to go further before his previous pit stop, because he had to pit about 3 laps into the race due to contact with a GTD car, as Bentham is off the track. That's another problem for Sam Bentham. That might be game over if he's got damage, but I think he's already used his fast repair, so not a good first round of the championship for the British driver. Shout out to Apex Racing Academy, another one of the sponsors for this series. Apex Racing Academy providing 29 different data packs, including a couple of data packs for the Hyundai and the Honda TCR cars, along with, I believe, the P2 cars will be designed, single-seaters such as the Formula 3 cars, and also the Rallycross cars as well, and GT cars as well. Lots of different stuff on Apex Racing Academy, and those data packs include setups, track guides, weekly group coaching sessions, and it's also integrated with Virtual Racing School. Also, their setup sync technology is super easy to use. I jumped back onto iRacing after a little bit of a time away a few days ago, and to just load into a session and have all the setups downloaded for me was very useful. So do check out apexracingac.com for more details. As Seb Herbert, I think, was just getting past Jeroen Kaiser. Kaiser very slow at the moment, 23, 1 minute 23 on that last lap. So he seems to be falling back quite a bit.
Yeah,
you can see the damage.
Yeah, there's damage to the front nose of that car.
Fortunately, that's not where the engine is. If it was, then that would be really bad. At least I believe it's rear engines. This Porsche is.
Yes, rear engine, rear wheel drive. It actually it is really great if you like a very sort of oversteery car that has that rear end that snaps around on you. But if you are not ready for it, Sam, let me tell you, I took it out a couple of days ago, and it can really throw you off.
We're getting closer to a change for the lead, even though it means nothing. Viewers who are just tuning in might think that this is a race, but well, here we go. That's unfortunately the race that we wanted a 1v1. We've got 5 more rounds to go. I'm sure we will see those two go up against one another. But for now, Kraft has to come into the pits, and this will be very close, I think, between himself and Forsdyke. Freitas seems to have lost quite a bit of time in the pit stop sequence. He was stationary for 3.5 extra seconds, was Freitas, so I think Kraft should be well clear of Freitas, but it will be close between him and Forsdyke. You were saying earlier on that he'll have to take less fuel because of coming in for that first pit stop so early, and I think that might just be the deciding factor here, DJ.
Yeah, very well could. And in terms of Freitas, I wonder if he maybe took a little bit of extra fuel, if that could have been the problem, because this is obviously a shorter stint on this last round. So there goes Forsdyke on by. Kraft coming out right in front of him, I believe. So, yep, there it is. That shorter fuel stop able to come out for Kraft. He's all the way up into P2.
yeah, 2.5 seconds shorter stationary, and 7/10 clear in the end, so certainly enough to just give him that advantage. He was probably going to be able to overtake him on track regardless, was Kraft, but that does make things a bit easier for him. And from nearly, well, he lost 50 seconds because of that crash. Probably 53, 54 seconds. To come back the way he has done, it's really impressive. He's up into second place, damage limitation, because he has used that fast penny to make sure he doesn't have any more crashes. That would be really detrimental for him, but it looks very good for a good recovery for Kraft. Well, if O'Leary was a kind person, he'd slow down and make it a proper 1v1 fight for us to view, but I would understand if the race leader wanted to keep his foot to the ground to the end of the race. Just a little bit of a check-up as well on the GTD fields. There hasn't been too much going on, at least from what I've been seeing. Hereford just extending that gap by about a tenth of a second per lap, and it's up to 2 seconds now. However, Gribstad has caught up to Cooper, and Gribstad is going to move past Cooper here as well. I don't think Cooper was fighting that one too much, and the Norwegian is up into 4th position. That will probably be where he finishes this race, such as the gap to Warner up the road. In the GTD AMS, Hodgson's lap times have improved significantly, so he's maintaining that gap. It's 6.1 seconds at the moment. Kochi hasn't been gaining for really the past quarter of an hour or so, so Hodgson seems to have this one under control with 17 minutes to go.
Yeah, indeed he does, and if you look at those top orders for both the GTD Pros and the GTD AMs, it is BMW all the way. That really seems to be the favored car here today at Road Atlanta going into the night. Now, as we move to the next round, that's going to be at Watkins Glen, a little bit more of a different track, a little bit more of an aero-dependent track. A lot of medium-speed corners, a lot of flowing corners, and it'll be interesting to see if the sort of in-series balance of performance, if you will, if another car may rise to the fore a little bit more there, or if we're going to see another BMW Fast take it away. The other thing to keep in mind about when we go to Watkins Glen, I was just looking at the schedule, that's going to be a morning race, so no night running, and the track will get hotter as the day goes along, and that will be another interesting thing to see if any other car is able to sort of jump its way up into favoritism.
Yeah, it's really tricky to tell what's going to happen, and yeah, often we can kind of look at the race 1 results and think absolutely one car's better than the other, but well, it might be that the next 5 races the BMW is the worst car on the grid, so it is tricky to tell, and hopefully we do have a bit of a change around so we see different drivers at the front for each of the different rounds. Problem for Ben Hicks. He's just gone off the track, I think, so maybe even take back to the pits there has Hicks. No, I think he is back going again, sorry Hicks, but yeah, a little bit of a setback for him momentarily. And also there's been a pit stop for Catchpole, so that has put him into 7th position, so as we were predicting, Zwemstra up ahead of him and up ahead of Barnes as well, up into 5th position with that alternative strategy. In fact, actually, so there's been an issue for Catchpole, so not only a pit stop, but also a problem for him. Ooh, he's got very lucky with that one. The 74 losing quite a bit of time there, and he would have been right with John Barnes if it weren't for that, but yeah, that mistake has left him with about 8 seconds to gain.
Got to give Alistair Catchpole a little bit of credit there. It almost looked like he was driving a dirt car. Ooh, we've got a little bit of a battle shaping up here. I believe this is Stockman's. And Halsey, it may not appear to be for class, but it actually is, because this is the 2 GTD drivers duking it out, even though they are in Pro and Am divisions.
Yeah, we'll score points for the overall GTD position, so it absolutely matters, does this one, as Stockman's taking a very unusual line. Did he maybe lose the rear end of the car? Not quite sure, but certainly lost a lot of time on that occasion. It's kind of separated that fight. Hulse chasing or extending that gap. I think it's actually Stockman's who's been the faster man, so Stockman's has been catching up, but a real weird mistake for him at the chicane. I expect him to come back in a few laps though. And also, just letting us know on the YouTube chat, Bart Delman saying that there is a success ballast added to the best 3 manufacturers in GTD. So the first manufacturer will get 25 kilos extra, second 15, and third 5 kilos. So that's quite an interesting balance of performance system there. So yeah, whichever car succeeds will be kind of penalised for the next race.
Well, knock on wood, if things stay the same the way they are, it looks like that BMW is going to get that first manufacturer. My guess is that Porsche will be second, and probably Lamborghini be the third. So we'll have to see if maybe the Ferrari or the Audi is then able to come about and be a little bit better when we get to Watkins Glen. I'd look for that Ferrari to be a little bit quicker there. That's a pretty good all-around car, the new GT3 Evo that was recently added to the sim.
Maurice Jones also asking on the YouTube chat whether the divisions are set through iRacing. Now, I can't speak on behalf of the series organisers, but I believe that is probably the case, that it is largely based on iRacing. But, of course, the Simracersworld community is so established, so many experienced drivers, the admins will know very well how competitive each driver is, so I'm sure they will take that into consideration as well when setting these pro ratings. Very tricky job to do. I think they've done a very good job. You can see a decent divider, because it's always very tricky to be able to set correct. Oh no, Grebstad with contact, and well, who was the P2 that he made contact with? Was that Forstyke who he made contact with? It was, yeah, from P3. And Forstyke now having to come into the pits. Now this is this a scheduled pit stop? I'm not sure.
I don't believe it is, because he was running up there in position. Is that a drive-through? Is that an incident drive-through? Yes, it is.
So the drivers get 17 incidents for themselves. Just be trying to figure out how. I guess I won't be able to see how many incidents he's got. I don't think I'm an admin in the session, unfortunately. But yeah, that is almost certainly an instant penalty. Do I have admin access? I do not. But yeah, pretty much the 17 incidents is the limit for the drivers, so not particularly high in a long race. As Dan Kraft has had to take evasive action in P2. Doesn't want another collision with a stationary driver out on track. But yeah, a bit of a mistake there from Forstyke. It's probably cost him a podium.
And that's very, very unfortunate there for him. He was running up in that podium position, and that wasn't really too much of an error of his own, just kind of a whole kerfluffle happening in front of him, and he picked up that 4X, and that is enough to send him over the limit. And now he has got about 13 seconds up the road to Frita. And with only about 10 minutes remaining to go in this race, that is a virtually unassailable gap.
This is not unassailable. Boland catching up to Hereford on that last lap. Oh, you know what? This has been a dreadful first sector for Hereford. He's lost 1.4 seconds in the first sector of this lap. Apologies, second sector of this lap. He lost 2/10 in the first sector. Boland actually lost 4/10 on the previous lap, but this is well and truly back on now. Within a second is the gap. Now Boland needs to try to get past the Porsche, which he has done very quickly, and a little bit. Oh no, he's driven it too deep there, Boland. That's going to overheat the tyres as well. Oh, I think he just got overexcited there, DJ, and it's so easy to do. You see the driver ahead, the driver that you're fighting for the win with, just get slowed up a little bit. You want to break a bit deeper just to gain those few meters, but Boland over pushed it then. That's cost him at least half a second.
Yeah, and it's such an easy thing to do, as you said. You just kind of get into that mindset of, okay, I can push it, I can go a little bit farther. You focus on the driver ahead. It's the same thing we talked about earlier in the race about applying a pressure to the driver in front of you, about forcing them into a mistake. Well, if you're the trailing driver, you can't bite off more than you can chew. You've got to just stay focused on what is directly ahead of you, and that is driving your own race. You can't get too greedy, and unfortunately, that's just what Bod Boland did there. Little bit of a mistake, and that gap ballooning upwards now.
Can Stockmans get past Pulse? Not yet. Pulse taking a lot of curb there. Needs to be careful not to pick up a slowdown. And of course, I'm surprised we haven't seen more drivers come into the pits for a drive-through penalty. Maybe there's been a few that we've missed, as a driver is now into the pits. Ben Holland. My God, so we've got Ben Holland and we've got Bod Boland, which is going to be really, real pain for us to recognise this season. But we'll try our best. They are different classes, at least. Stockman's being overtaken around the outside there. Always get very nervous when we see overtakes like that. As Grebstad is going back past Cooper, so of course he had that incident with the P2 car earlier on in the race, but he's been able to recover as the Ignium Motorsports driver didn't pick up too much damage, and he's back past Cooper and back into 4th place.
Yes, he is. He's got a big chunk of time up to him to Warner. I think that is going to be unassailable for him. Not going to be able to get that done there, but at least a P4, a good points day for Grebstad. There you can see Cooper back down in 5th after that pass has been made. He'll be pretty pleased with that, taking home the top Lamborghini crown for the day, so that's at least something to hang his hat on, and especially as we talked about that BOP within series, that will be something that he'll be able to walk away from and hopefully be able to carry some good momentum into Watkins Glen.
Ooh, Hodgson, he's off the track. What's happened to Hodgson? He's lost the lead in the GTD AM class. Jason Hodgson, oh man, he led for so long. And is that Zwemstra that he's collided with? I think it might be Zwemstra who he's made contact with. Oh no, please don't tell me that Zwemstra's denied Boland his first win of the season. Deary me, let's see what happens. Turn 2. I think the writing's on the wall here. Oh, was it a miscommunication? Well, if anything, I think you can say that was probably Boland's fault as much as Wemstra's, because Wemstra took a line. Boland seemed to almost kind of give him that line and made contact soon after. And Boland down into 12th place. He's how far behind is he? He is 2.5 seconds back, so it's not game over, but it does surely give the race win to Oysenhever. That's not how we wanted it to be decided, but yeah, absolutely guts there for Boland.
Yeah, and I have to. I think if I'm going to chalk that up to anything, it's going to be a. Oh, as Zwemstra comes down pit lane, and there's Neil Cooper off.
Has Cooper just made another pit stop himself? Why's Cooper all of a sudden lost a lot of time? He was doing much better. Cooper was up in 3rd position, right?
Let's take a look here. This is, we're checking it out here. Here we go. This is Neil Cooper coming up over turns 1 and turns 2 and 3. Oh, just goosed it there. Sends that Lamborghini around. I think he just had to wait for cars to pass by, and that's what lost him. Although now it's a relatively quick turnaround there for him.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's lost half a minute there, Cooper. But obviously he hasn't lost half a minute through that instant. Might be, don't know if you can maybe get lap times up on the screen. I don't know if that's easy to do. Otherwise I can maybe have a look. But Cooper, maybe I'm making things up. Yeah, well, what lap time is this? This is a 1 minute 33. Okay, maybe I'm making stuff up. I thought he was up in 3rd place, Cooper, but maybe I'm being dumb. Or maybe I'm getting confused with him and Warren. So yeah, but that's bad news there for Cooper. He drops down a few more places. And yeah, was running in 5th place down to 7. Catchpole catching up to Barnes. But that is not Barnes, he's just overtaken. That's a GT car that he's just overtaken. Now he's got to try and get past the next one. Very bold move there. I don't think the GT car would be too happy with that, but Catchpole sees the 5th place ahead of him and he wants to get it.
Yeah, indeed he does. He's still got to get through some lap traffic here, and that gap closing down a little bit, and with only 4 minutes to go out on track, it is now or never time for that 74 as he tries to catch in the Friction Racing driver. Going to get a nice little pull from that Audi, pull off the inside. That's a much cleaner move, but that's going to compromise his entry a little bit. He's able to gather the car back up under him and not lose too much time, but that's not the perfect line he wants to take there to try to catch up to Barnes in these closing minutes.
Yeah, he really needs some perfect laps because he is running out of time. 100 minutes is a very long race, but it's all coming to a head right at the close of this absolutely fantastic round 1 of the Simracersworld IMSA Winter Series Championship. And, yeah, we're going to find out who our first 3 winners of the season are going to be in just a few moments' time as we enter the final few laps of the race. Final shout out, by the way, to Virtual Racing School. Thanks to them for being another sponsor for this broadcast. Virtual Racing School with over 50 data packs, and those data packs cover both road racing and oval racing as well. Sets up track guides, data analysis software as well, really great telemetry software that Virtual Racing School run, which enables you to highlight exactly where you're losing time to a pro driver for each race of an official series schedule. So do check out virtualracingschool.com in order to get yourself a subscription to improve your iRacing performance. Is there going to be a move here for Valor? He's quite close to Ben Hicks. Oh no! Barnes into the wall. Huge hit there. And that was contact, I think, with Catchpole. And Barnes will need to get a faster pair.
Need to get a faster fare and potentially a tow for that. That may be completely put him out of it. Yeah, I think that was Catchpole that came up behind him. Let's check out that replay. This was coming onto the main straightaway. So watch Barnes here. It's going to get checked up a little bit by lapped traffic, and yeah, oh, that was Catchpole just almost losing the car there and running into the back of Barnes.
Maybe there was some movement from Barnes, I'm not quite sure, or maybe Catchpole will be given the penalty for that. I imagine the stewards will have a look at it. You can see he's lost the entirety of that front part of the car, nothing left. And yeah, hopefully he's still got a faster pair spare. It means that Sembera moves up into 6th position. Now Gosling is another minute back, I'm saying, so he should be safe from Gosling, but well, you can't see where he's going. He's got no headlights, so he'll do well to get it round out on track. There's a couple of the other P2 cars trying to make their way past him at the moment. So we are, it's a white flag out there. O'Leary just with one more lap to go after this one. We'll wait to see if anyone's maybe mistimed the fuel. We have seen it a few times around this track. I don't think it's necessarily inherent to this track, I think it's just that we visit this place a lot of the time, so more of a risk of it over time. As there is the white flag, the Marshall waving it right there. Now 46 seconds clear of Daniel Kraft is the gap now. Is there going to be a change in the GTD Pro? Hereford looks safe, he's 2 seconds clear. Kochi 5.8 seconds clear of Hodgson at the moment. Barnes does come into the pits, so all looks good. But what a performance this has been from Thomas O'Leary. Who knows if he would have been able to beat Dan Kraft if it weren't for Kraft's incident earlier on, DJ. But well, you can't deny he's driven a perfect race.
He really and truly has, and I think while Kraft will be a little bit disappointed to not be able to get up there and to be fighting for that top spot, I think what it sets up for the rest of this season is going to be a battle of the titans between O'Leary and Kraft if things remain the way that they are. Just an absolutely stellar drive from O'Leary and an amazing, amazing recovery from Kraft.
So here comes Thomas O'Leary, just a couple more corners to go, and he's going to take this race win by a country mile. 45 seconds clear, and for the first round of the championship, we know our P2 winner, Thomas O'Leary, with Fiction Racing, wins here at Road Atlanta. Your next class winner will be Oysten Hereford, because Kochi's still got another lap to... Oh, apologies, no, that is it for Kochi, my bad. So Kochi wins in the amateur class, and that is fully well deserved. He did lose time in the pit stop sequence, we're not quite sure why, but he came back strong. He beats Hodgson. He will be disappointed with a late race contact, which perhaps denied him a good chance at the race win. Holst rounds out the podium in the GTD Pro. This is our closest class, and it's going to be Oysten Hereford, despite adversity, manages to win right there. 2 seconds clear at the line from Bodbone, and Warner will round out the podium. Oysten Hereford picking up the pieces when the mistake from Warner and Grebstad came about. He was there to take advantage of it, and Hereford manages to take the race win for round 1 of the championship. Really exciting stuff there, DJ. Certainly the highlight for me in that race was the crazy pit stops that we had. The remarkable prediction for myself, that's going to be clipped and put on social media, undoubtedly, because you could see it from a mile away, the fact that he wasn't going to be able to get into the pits. And then, of course, just remarkable that that happened to Gribstead and Warner, and it yeah, just opened up the win for Hereford. But up and down the field, there were great battles throughout.
Oh, exactly. Exactly what you would expect in the best possible way from multi-class IMSA racing like this. Truly incredible stuff. And I think what it does set up going forward, outside of that incredible battle that we are going to be seeing going forward for those top 3, top 4 spots in GT Pro, which look incredibly close as they always seem to do, I am so incredibly excited to see what can shake out between O'Leary and Kraft, Freitas and Fordstijk. Those really seem to be the 4 that have a shot at taking wins as this 6-race series goes along. This is by no means done and dusted here for O'Leary, despite the gap that he was able to win by here today.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it purely from the time, Kraft did look faster, but it's tricky to tell if O'Leary was maybe cruising round out on track. So Kraft was the faster driver across the race, but yeah, who knows what's going to happen for future rounds. We've certainly got a good championship in store for us. We should get a few interviews actually with some of the drivers in a little bit, but first up we will have a look at the results, and that is Thomas O'Leary winning out in the P2 class ahead of Daniel Kraft. Miguel Freitas was in 3rd place, and then it was James Forsyth with that late race drive-through penalty costing him a podium. Alistair Catchpole was in 5th place, then it was Michael Sembera, Paul Gosling, John Barnes, John Tusting, Kevin Zwemstra, Darian Roy, Sam Bentham, Peter Jan Claessens, Thomas Mokech, Derek Robb, Jason Ashfield, Tim Rutten and Nick Shermans. Running up the 18-car field. In the GTD Pro, Oyston Hereford was the top of the drivers, 2 seconds clear of Bod Boland. That contact for Boland probably costing him the race win. Big shame for him. Then it was Chris Warner who, of course, had the pit lane entry issue. So too did Hakon Grebstad speeding on pit lane entry. Christoph Reis was in 5th position, bit under the radar, but good result for the Belgian. Then it was Justus Stakiokas, Neil Cooper, Anthony Beck, Wim Stockman, Ben Hicks, Jaco Boschov, Matthew Sophie, Sebastian Herberer, Matthew Lamont, Jeroen Kaiser, Harold Das, Jotatus, Andrew Hopley, Thijs Vandenberg and Chris Woods in 19th place. Woods had a very little impact in the race, but the little impact he did have made quite a difference in the race. So he actually had a big impact despite not being out on track for very long. Of course, making contacts crucially with P2 runner Dan Kraft. Then in the GTD and Wojtek Kochi managing to take I think a well-deserved win. Hodgson was unlucky, Hodgson could have won if it weren't for late race contact, but I think Kochi was the fastest of the 2 of them across the race. Bradley Holst rounded out the podium, then it was Edward Knight, Anton Dupin, Kevin Stringer, Juraj Valle, Stuart Musselwhite, Nathan Healy, Ben Holland and Craig Jones. So, time for some interviews, and we've got quite a choice for ourselves. So first up, I am going to bring up, I think I've got to bring up Thomas O'Leary, who joins us in the commentary box now. Thomas, congratulations out there. First race win of the season for yourself. Honestly, it was getting quite dark by the end of the race. That race win was so comfortable. Were you struggling to keep your eyes open for that one? Because it seemed very easy.
Well, thanks, Sam, first of all. Yeah, it was a pretty straightforward race once I guess Daniel got really unlucky with that car turned around. So I hope the stewards look at that and deal the appropriate penalty. But it was a mega drive for him to go back up to P2. And I guess that's like basically a champion's drive, and that'll make all the difference in the series.
Now, I'm theorizing as to what the actual pace between you two was because we were denied a fun battle. He was 50 seconds behind you at one point. The race ended at 47 seconds. However, were you not pushing 100%, or do you think he did genuinely have that little bit of a pace advantage that the gap seemed to show?
I think he had the pace advantage on me, if I'm honest. But towards the end, I could feel my tires were pretty rough, so I was just sort of nursing the fronts and just making sure we get to the end really.
Next up, we've got Watkins Glen. That has got the updated scan of that track. Have you been someone who's been particularly excited about that new scan? Because I know for a lot of people, they've been asking for it for years.
I was excited about the scan in terms of the the graphical improvements. Makes the game look better for broadcast and for racing itself. But in terms of, I've done a few laps on the new layout effectively with the different curbs and whatnot, and it's a bit easier to drive, I would say. And I don't know, I guess we'll see what the racing is like when we get there.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
I'd just like to thank one person, Marco Mogren, who has been our setup maker for years and years and years. Put all the hours into getting our friction racing cars where they need to be. So a massive thanks to him. And that's all.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging a chat with us, Thomas, and best of luck for the next round of the championship.
Thank you very much.
Thomas O'Leary there, your race winner. Next up, I will drag in, I'm trying to remember exactly all the results. Oyston Hereford, I think, would be a very good shout, I think, because he managed to win our GTD Pro field right there. Oyston, congratulations on that win. I guess you couldn't believe your eyes when you completed your pit stop and you were out in the lead.
No, that was a bit weird. But I talked to Chris and I heard that he swapped tires on accident, and Håkon got a 40-second penalty for for unsafe pit entry. So yeah, I guess I never beat Håkon, so I'll take it.
Take us through what happened after that, because I'm getting very confused. I feel like I may have missed a step, because I believe you were in the lead, and then did Boland get ahead of you at some point, and then Boland had contact? Or am I not making that wrong?
No, I'm not sure. I think it was in front of me 2 times, but running 2-wing on the setup here was I think good compared to the Porsche, so I managed to get him back on the straight right away. The second time I can't really remember, to be honest, but yeah.
Well, you still managed to come back really strong. How do you rate your chances for the rest of the championship? I mean, this is just the start that you needed. Do you think you've got as good a chance as any to take the title this season?
I don't know. There's a lot of rounds left, so I think it's too early to say anything about that. But as you said, it was the perfect start, at least.
Absolutely. And well, how have you found this BMW? Because it seems to be the most popular car in the GTD class. I mean, can you identify why you kind of chose it over the other GT3 cars?
Mostly because it's good over curbs, so it doesn't bounce around as much as the other cars does. And that's pretty much it, actually. You can, on most tracks, run a little bit lower wing and get away with it, and yeah, so I enjoy driving the BMW.
Awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck, of course, for future rounds, Oyston. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah. Of course, I gotta thank Ignia Motorsports with Paul King, the team manager. Also have to thank Håkon Grebstad for practicing with me and keeping up with me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure you're going to repeat this success in future rounds of the championship. Oyston, thanks for having a chat with us. We'll see you back in a fortnight's time.
Yeah, see you guys.
Oyston Hereford there, your race winner in the GTD Pro class. DJ, who did you want to have a chat with next?
Well, I thought we could bring in the third place in the GT Am, Bradley Hulse here. to have a nice little chat with. Bradley, we're waiting for him to come on in. There he is. Bradley, one of the GTAM drivers out there, and very good to start off the season in P3. How was it for you behind the cockpit?
Yeah, exit race really. I crashed in qualifying, so it put me right down near back at grid, and just fought my way through. I would have been happy with, well, realistically getting a top 15 overall. Never mind being on verge of a top 10. But if messed up with his strategy, taking 2 tyres, thought I would have got an advantage to end, but it didn't work out that way. So good front race, solid start to the season, and we'll see where we go from here.
Well, how does that change your attitude coming into the race then when you do botch qualifying like that? Does that put you on a little bit more of an attack mode, or are you on a little bit more of, okay, I'm just going to let the race come to me type of mentality?
Well, with being first round, I'm not, because I missed the media race, I'm not sure really where anyone really stood, so I was going to push on first few laps and just from there kind of make it up as I go. And I made such a good start, just flying through field it felt like, and I decided to try and make that strategy call, which didn't work out. But it's really, at the minute, it's make it up as you go until you start to learn who you're going to be racing against week in, week out. But it's going to be tough all the way through season.
Well, tough indeed, and I'm curious, because of the way the scoring works here in the GTD field, where you may be broken down into the Pro and Am field, but you're all scored together, how does that affect your driving? Are you pushing a little bit more in terms of that, or focusing on that, or are you focusing on your individual class as opposed to the whole field?
Yeah, with the scoring, it's a case of, well, we're all being mixed in. You've got to fight everyone, really. Yes, I'm an Am driver. If it were scored individually, I probably would have battled pros not nearly as much as I did. But because we're all scored together, every position matters, and you've just got to push for every last position you can get.
Well, I'd say you did a pretty good job pushing out there, Bradley. Anybody you'd like to thank for this third-in-class place here today?
Thanks, guys, at Team U1 for helping with the setup building. Thanks to all the sponsors, the team 3D Wrap, Enio Fungus for creating such a good paint, Alpha Life for supporting us, and Grizzly Sim Engineering as well. Cheers, fellas.
Well, thank you so much, Bradley, and congratulations again on that third place out on track here. Sam?
Yeah, I think we're going to have time for maybe one more interview. I think we are going to bring up Bod Boland, because he managed to finish a really strong P2 out there on track. Bod, congratulations. Must be mixed emotions right now, because you got a terrific result, second place, probably better than what it was going to look like halfway through the race, but at the same time must be agonizing being that close to the race win.
Evening, guys. I'm quite made up, Sam, to be honest. I didn't think I was going to be on the podium. I was hoping for maybe a top 6, top 7 maybe, but I've made up with that.
That's excellent. I know a few people would be a bit negative about it, but no, it's good that you've been very positive, because, yeah, I mean, your pace was absolutely superb, and yeah, of course, you got took advantage of the pit stop incident as well. How were the tyres as the race went on? I mean, 1 hour 40 on a set of tyres isn't too easy in these cars. Did you feel that difference by the end of the race?
After about an hour, mine were just starting to feel a little bit loose. But then, like, after the pit stop, I was just trying to look after them. But the last 15-20 minutes, I had some big slides through the S's. Lucky to get it home. That's why I made up with the second place.
And how did you find the traffic tonight with the P2s, and also that being your own class? Was it as chaotic as you expected? As you expected?
Some of the LMPs were a bit interesting, shall we say? Any GT3s that we come up against, they were all really well behaved. A lot of the guys got out of the way for us. For, the LMPs, they make their own spot on the track. They just plough through.
And of course we have this BOP adjustment where the most successful car from the previous round gets a bit of a weight added to it. I believe the BMW will be deemed the most successful, so they'll have 25 kilos added. The Porsche, I guess, the second most successful, 15 kilos. Do you think, you know, that 10 kilos difference will make a bit of a difference come Watkins Glen, or do you think that sort of difference is going to be negligible?
Could do with a couple of bags of gold in the back of Chris's car and a couple of the other lads. Leave the Porsche alone.
Well, yeah. Hopefully the admins will listen to you on that one. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'll thank my teammate Seb. We've done a bit of practice. Just started up our own little team, so me and Seb get on really well. Like to do practice. Use guys for the broadcast. I'm sure it's very good. And thanks to Bart for all his efforts he puts in. Look forward to the next one in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on tonight, Bod, and yeah, best of luck at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sam. Take care.
Bod Boland there, P2 in the GTD Pro field. And yeah, very close to the race win right there. So yeah, that pretty much wraps this up for tonight, DJ. But yeah, next up, Watkins Glen. Oh, that's going to be so good. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new track in action. Of course, it's been asked for a long time, and dare I say, I think maybe a bit better for multi-class racing, that track. I know you do have the S's at the start of the lap, which can get chaotic, but I think on the most part, that track a little bit wider, a bit less elevation change, and I think should have yeah, even better racing than we had tonight.
Yeah, for sure. You said it yourself, really, with the exception of the S's and then going down through the heel and I think turn 9. Those are really the only two areas that it gets sketchy. Very wide track, plenty of places to overtake, and specifically with the LMP2s, they can carry a lot of speed around the outside of corners to make things very, very easy. So it is going to be an absolute cracker of a race, and I cannot wait. Watkins Glen is one of my favorite circuits on the iRacing service.
Well, that's going to be on in 2 weeks' time. Of course, the best way to catch it, well, the only way to catch it is on our YouTube channel, Apex Racing TV. Do make sure to leave a like on this video so that you get recommended that video in a couple of weeks' time, the next round of the championship, and also subscribe to the channel as well so you can view this series along with all of our others. Not a whole lot of racing going on the channel over the course of the winter. In fact, I think one of our next broadcasts will probably be next week for the Simracersworld TCR series. Same time slot as this one, albeit a much different format. But of course, come the new year, we'll have lots of new racing, NASCARs and touring cars and GTs, prototypes, single-seaters, all that stuff on Apex Racing TV. And of course, do check out our social media as well on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Big thanks to Apex Racing Academy, to SDK Gaming and to Virtual Racing School for sponsoring this series. Do check out all of their products using the description below. But for now, my name has been Sam Fitzpatrick. I've been alongside DJ Clark. Sam Kumo has been operating the cameras. We've got round 1 in the books. We'll see you next time out in 2 weeks' time at Watkins Glen for round 2. See you then.